When it is turning, the boat will rotate about its pivot point. The pivot point is different depending on if the vessel is moving ahead or astern. The pivot is different depending on the trim of the vessel. Draft is the amount of the boat that is under the water. When a boat has the same draft at the bow and the stern, the boat is described as being on an even keel. If the draft at the stern of the boat is greater than the draft at the bow, then the boat is described as being trimmed by the stern. This is how boats usually are. If the draft at the bow of the boat is greater than the draft at the stern, then the boat is described as being trimmed by the head. The pivot point position varies depending on the trim of the boat. Propellers are described as either right-handed or left-handed. Right-handed propeller turns clockwise on vessel moving ahead, when viewed from astern. Right-handed propeller turns anti-clockwise on vessel moving astern, when viewed from astern. Boats with two propellers usually have one of each. Prop wash is the water flow coming off the turning propeller. For conventional inboard engines, in forward or ahead gear, the propeller wash flows over the rudder. In astern gear, the propeller wash does not flow over the rudder. In astern gear, the propeller wash is obstructed, at least partially, by the hull of the boat. When the helm is midships, and the rudder is lying in a fore and aft line or longitudinally, and the propeller turning for a head motion, the prop wash flows at the same rate on both sides of the rudder. When we apply port helm, the back edge of the rudder moves degrees to port. The port rudder deflects prop wash to the left. Ignoring the effects of wind and current, a boat with port rudder applied will turn to port with propeller turning ahead or astern. A boat with starboard rudder applied will turn to starboard with propeller turning ahead or astern. In the slide diagram, when the port rudder deflects prop wash to the left, the stern moves to the right in reaction to the wash being deflected to the left. A boat will follow an arc in direction that rudder is turned in both forward and reverse gears. On some boats, a tiller is attached to the rudder stock. The tiller provides leverage in the form of torque to turn the rudder. In steering a boat, the tiller is always moved in the direction opposite of which the bow of the boat is to move. While we have to turn the steering wheel or helm right, for right rudder, we have to push a tiller left for right rudder. Outboard motors operate like tillers. Crosswinds will affect the boat depending on the shape of the superstructure. Generally, turning into the wind will slow the boat, more power might be needed. Turning away from the wind will increase the width of the boat's turning circle. A vessel with a small freeboard combined with superstructure and greater windage area in its forward part, will have its bow blown downwind. Cross current will affect the entire vessel. The effective current is proportional to the draft of the vessel. The force of the engine, when it is in gear, is an internal force. Smaller, lighter boats respond to engine power more quickly than heavier boats. Momentum relates to the weight of the boat. It is weight multiplied by speed. A heavy boat will coast longer and needs more power to speed it up. Lighter boats are the opposite. Remember, there is speed over the ground and there is speed in the water. Check your speed. On ships transiting in and out of port, there could be a helmsman steering and another person operating the engine. So a captain, marine pilot or instructor could be giving instructions or orders to the helmsman and the engine operator. Accordingly, there are common conventions on how this is done. The order, slow ahead, means about 1/4 or 25% of maximum engine revs. Half ahead means about half or 50% of maximum engine revs, and full ahead is about 100% of maximum engine revs. Astern movements are the same percentages for slow astern, half astern and full astern. When we are maneuvering a boat for berthing or unberthing, we could be using lots of short-duration engine movements. Always remember to stop engine in neutral between forward and astern movements and vice versa. When a captain, pilot or instructor orders a kick ahead, they mean to put the throttle full ahead for 3 seconds then back to neutral. A short kick ahead means put the throttle half ahead for 1 second then back to neutral. A kick astern is full astern for about 3 seconds, and a short kick astern means half astern for 1 second. On larger ships where a helmsman responds to orders from a captain, pilot or instructor, the orders are usually given in degrees. Like, Starboard 10 degrees means turn the wheel until the rudder angle indicator gets to 10 degrees. This is not always the case. The order, hard to starboard or hard to port, means the wheel is turned in the ordered direction until it stops. The order, half port or half starboard rudder, means turn the wheel until the rudder is halfway between midships and hard over. The order, port easy or starboard easy, means about 5 degrees of rudder. Americans are comfortable saying left and right rudder. We prefer to use port and starboard. Prop walk is also called transverse thrust. Transverse thrust is useful for turning the boat around in a confined area. On a boat with a right-handed propeller, transverse thrust can be used to turn the boat around to starboard as a little more of the boat's length. Right-handed propeller transverse thrust means, with the propeller turning astern, anti-clockwise viewed from astern, the stern moves to port. When executing a turn in a confined space using transverse thrust, the rudder is kept hard to starboard throughout the turn. The engine is kicked alternately ahead and astern until the boat is turned. Remember, never go directly from ahead to astern or astern to ahead without stopping the throttle in neutral for a few seconds. To recap, transverse thrust can be used to turn a boat, with a single propeller and rudder, around in a confined area. The boat can be turned in little more than its own length. Some people call turning the boat like this, backing and filling. The turn can only be done to starboard with the right-hand propeller. If a left-handed propeller is fitted, the turn must be executed to port.